Hi, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. I am excited to be sharing with you today a new quilt that I designed using the Blue Moon collection from Island Batiks. I hope you'll be excited about how easy it is to draft your own quilts using Electric Quilt 8. Before we get started in Electric Quilt, I wanted to take you to the Island Batik website because the fabrics we're going to use in our quilt came from this particular website, and it's the collection called Blue Moon, and it was designed by Jackie Kunkel. And so you can see some of the lovely blues and purples that are in this particular collection. So I have opened an Electric Quilt, and I'm going to start by creating a new project, and that is the second icon on the top. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to label this Blue Moon since that's the fabric collection I want to work with, and I'm going to select OK. Now I'm on the home screen in Electric Quilt, and it gives me an option: do I want to design quilts, draw blocks, or work with fabrics? But before I do anything, I want to clean up my project sketchbook. I'm going to view my project sketchbook, which is this red icon on the left, and I'm going to go to the fabrics, and I'm going to get rid of all the existing fabrics so I can, before I do this. So I'm going to select clear, and I'll say OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and on my home screen select search fabric swatches. And so now that I'm in the fabric library, I'm going to select import from image files, and I'm going to navigate. So I've saved all my Blue Moon collection to my EQ8 images, and I set up a new folder called Blue Moon, and all my images are there along with a couple other things. So I'm going to select the first and the last with my shift key on my keyboard, so they're all highlighted in blue, and I'm going to select open. So this brought them into basically a temporary holding file within the library. So I'm going to now say select all fabrics, so they're all highlighted in blue, and I'm going to add to my sketchbook and close. So now when I take a look at my project sketchbook, the only thing in my fabrics are these new fabrics that I just loaded. Now if I start a new project, they're going to be the fabrics that were there before. So this doesn't load them into all your projects, but just the current one. Okay, now what I want to do is create a quilt. And so I am on the quilt work table, and I want to actually start with a layout that was in the quilt library. And so if I scroll, I'm under new quilt, if I scroll to the far right, I'm going to select open library, and it opens the EQ layout library, and they have layouts broken into layouts by size and layouts by style. And I'm going to click on the plus next to layout by style and select stars. And now I'm going to scroll and find a layout to work with. And I'm going to use the stars 23, and I'm going to select edit to quilt work table. I can go to the layout tab if I want to make any changes to the size. I can do that. At this point I'm just going to go ahead and keep it. For the border tab, I'm going to go ahead and delete that because we'll add some other borders later. Now I will go to the design tab, and notice that I can have block tools and there are fabric tools, and I'm going to be using both of those. I will select open library, and when I am in the block library, I am going to first of all look at some of these classic pieces. I want to go to the style that's called 4X. One of the blocks that I decided I wanted to play with this quilt is called the arrowhead, and so I'm going to select that, and I'm going to actually make some changes to it. So I'm going to go ahead and select edit to the block work table. Now that I'm in the block work table, I don't have to use the block in the library. I can make changes. So I'm going to use the pick tool, and with the shift key on my keyboard depressed, I'm going to select all of the lines that I want to delete. And once I've got them selected, I will select the delete key on my keyboard. And I'm going to, with my shift key, select these as well and delete. So now I can go to the color tab, and I can use the paintbrush to color the block using the fabrics from the collection. And I'm going to make one more change. I'm going to actually delete this line as well. And that's no problem in EQ's world, because that's a very simple change to make. And once I have my block colored, I can add that to the project sketchbook. Now I'm going to go back to the New Block tab and select Open Library. And for this one, I'm going to click on the O3 foundation piece, and I'm going to find the geometrics. I like this very simple quarter log cabin, so I'm going to select that and select Add to Sketchbook. And I'm going to go ahead and close that. So now I'm going to view my project sketchbook, go to my Blocks tab, and there's one more block I want to modify. And that's the basic 4 patch. That's one of the default blocks. So I'm going to select that, select Edit, and for this one I'm going to use my pick tool, just take one of the lines and do delete, and then I can go ahead and color this as well. So I'm going to add that to the project sketchbook. I'm going to go ahead and just select the quilt work table, which is the one that we started to edit. And now I can use the Set Block tool, and I'm going to take, I'm going to start with the 4 patch. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in each of those center diamonds. And some of them, I'm going to rotate them so they all rotate the same direction. So let's have that blue piece on the top, because that's going to help when we go to make coloring changes. Then for my set block, I'm going to take that quarter log cabin, and I'm going to put that in all of these spaces. And I'm going to use the rotate so that I can get all of those centers to basically rotate around the center of the quilt. And this already has 4 patches, so I don't really need to do anything with that. But the next thing that I want to set is this particular block, our modified arrowhead block. And I'm going to put that in the corner and in each of these setting triangles. And I'm going to go back to using that rotate. Let's now add borders to our quilt. So I'm going to select the Borders tab. I'm going to select Add, and I'm going to select Diamonds. Now those are really small, so let me go ahead and change the size. And I've got lock size adjustments set to all, so I can drag this over until I get to the size that I like to work with. And so I'm thinking 5 looks good. I am going to scroll down, however, and I'm going to increase the number of blocks in the border to 4. And so that's going to be my first border. Now for my second one, I'm going to add, and I'm going to make that a long horizontal, and I like the 1 inch. And for the third one, I'm going to add another one, and I'm liking this, but let me increase. And the beauty is I can see what I'm I think I like 4 inches, so I'm just going to stop there. And now I'm going to go back to the Design tab, and I'm going to go back to using the set block, and I'm going to use this particular quarter log cabin block, and with the control or the command if you're on a Mac key, I'm going to set that in these borders. Now if I want to rotate everything in one particular border, I can use the Alt key on my keyboard and click on one of those patches. I'm going to use rotate. Alt key on my keyboard is depressed. A single click there, 2 clicks there, 3 there, and that one looks good. So now I'm ready to actually start coloring this quilt. So I'm going to go to the fabric tools, and I can use this detach fabric preview, and what's nice is I'm scrolling through here, I can see exactly what some of these are going to look like. So I want to use that dark blue for the border, and if I use the control key, I can basically color all sides at once. Now if I want to use a fabric I've already used, I can use the eyedropper, find the fabric, and now I am going to use the control key and color the next border. And I think I am going to actually put one of my 4 patch blocks in this particular space. So I'm going to go back to my block tools, set block. I'm going to find that modified 4 patch, and again with my control key I can get that in the corners, and then I can just rotate them. Now back to my fabric tools, and I'm liking that purple, so I'm going to use the eyedropper, and I am going to go ahead and color these inside pieces. Now one other option under the color tools is a spray can. And if I use the spray can and I click on a particular fabric in a block, it will change all matching fabrics. And if I have the control key selected on my keyboard, it will do the same for any matching blocks. Now let me go ahead and finish coloring this quilt. Once I have my quilt colored, I can go ahead and close my fabric preview, and I can add this to the project sketchbook. As I pondered this quilt a little bit longer, I thought it looked a little bit busy, and then I thought about a different variation. And with the rotate, what if I took every other one of these blocks and just rotated them 2 times? One of the beauties of EQ is it is so easy to make these simple modifications and really make major changes before you complete your quilt and go, oh, that isn't what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the project sketchbook as well. And now I have 2 quilts to choose from. Thanks so much for watching. If you would like more electric quilt training, please subscribe to my newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com. While you are there, you can also check out my Electric Quilt 8 software and training opportunities as well.